Hello, my name is Richard Berry, and you're probably watching this because you want to find out a little bit more about my background. That's a smart thing to do. I'll go back around 20 years, and when I was in the computer industry, I began working for a company called New Horizons Computer Learning Centers. I had a lot of great computer background, and so I began to, I was hired on to teach classes, technical classes, mostly on both the concept of Novell and NT, networking software. And they were certification type of classes, and within just a couple of days working there, getting to know the people that were in the sales side of the business, knowing that these salespeople actually go out to the businesses and sell their computer classes, either end user or technical classes to learn more about networks, databases, internet, programming, design development, all types of classes they teach. They're in, I think, 23 or 25 countries back then. I'm not sure where they are now. But anyway, within a couple of days after talking with some of the salespeople, I felt like I found an opportunity that could be something really big. And the only thing any schools actually had during that time, when you go through college to learn computer skills, by the time you finish your college, all the languages that you've used, everything is already antiquated. It's not even current in the industry. So you really have to keep up with things, and that's where certification classes come into play. They're shorter term, crunched into a lot of data, a lot of information into a series of classes to be able to get certified to run an NT network back then, or Novell, or run or set up, design, administer, and maintain SQL database. So anyway, but so many businesses have so many different facets, because as you begin to grow, you want to keep what you have and then be able to add something more to that to get to your next level. Although this could be kind of old, it seems to be working. Anyway, it's kind of a long story, but so you add different types of components to your computer system. You may not even be an entity that's on the internet at the time, and now you're going to be going into the internet, and your other computers may not be able to handle. So you have to have all kinds of software, custom programming, and to find an individual that fits all the skills that you need can be like finding a needle in a haystack back then. And now it's far more common, but back then it was extremely rare. So what businesses would do is send their technical staff through the technical training courses that they had to update their education. They would usually continue on to get their certification if they could, thinking it's going to help boost their income, make them more desired. So my concept was to be, like I was thinking, it's so difficult to even find the right individual for your position. Because computers are going to be here to stay forever. Back then, we were all thinking, and this is where everything's going to be in the future. Now look at it. But why don't we go to the businesses, find out the big ones, of course, go to like Qualcomm or General Dynamics, go to these entities, talk with the technicians, talk with their head management, explain to them what you want to do. You want to try to solve a problem that you know that they're faced with, that they just can't get rid of. They can't find the right technical staff. And even the ones they do, they have to compete with price to pay them what they're demanding, because they realize popularity. It's like that girl in school. The minute she all of a sudden goes to school and everybody thinks she's the most popular one, all of a sudden, I don't want to talk to you. I got that all the time, so that's the only reason I'm throwing that out there. Personal experience. But anyway, going to the businesses, finding out exactly what we could train them on. If a person was looking to come into the computer industry, give them a personality profile test to determine if they would be a good fit. So I had a psychologist put together a program, psychology test, so that we can put them, I think it was like 28, 29 questions or something like that. And it would help us determine if they would be good for the computer industry. And it was an actual verbal face-to-face interview. So anyway, it took off with New Horizons. Within my very first week, I knew I was going to be hitting goals that they've never even had set before, because once all the businesses found out about this, a whole bunch of things happened. First of all, they started sending all of their end users to us to train them for their end user software usage. So that part took off like wildfire. Then the businesses were only, since we were focused on finding what's the good solution for them, they decided they were going to have all of their education being done at our facility. So all of these things you see back here are awards. This is the very first full month I was there, and that's first place in San Diego County. This is second month, third month. It was every single month, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. And then this one up here, I don't know if you can see that there, but the one at there's one up at the very top right up here. This is a worldwide let's see if we can get this on here on this camera. I love zoom lenses. This is a worldwide, out of all 23 countries that they're in, this was a worldwide, I hit #1 in the entire world for sales. So, which I was really proud of. I'm not a real big fan of attention or anything, but I was very proud of that it helped the industry go to a whole new level. But it might be a little easier to see if I took it off the wall. So it might be easier to see this way. So anyway, after about 3 or 4 years of doing that, I was approached by some investors that were very interested in this whole concept because they could see this growing into its own entity all by itself. Because I loved going out and talking to the techs and finding out exactly what they needed, and I would fill the positions instead of them having to pay these exorbitantly high prices for guys and girls. Anyway, after these investors came up to me and said, we'd love to take this and open up a whole new business doing this whole thing. And I was totally up for it. The income they were talking about paying me and guarantees and things in writing, it was all beautiful. I was making very good money doing this, but they're talking about I'm actually going to be part of a business. So so I decided I would leave there and start with this new entity. They had purchased a whole entire floor of a building in Anaheim, right down the street from Disneyland on Harbor Boulevard. And they had the entire second floor. They told me they bought out the school. There was a technical school that was there at the time. And they bought out the school, and they were just approaching me at this time saying that we're showing you how serious we are about doing this whole thing. We bought out this entire school. They had this video they showed me what the school looked like on the inside. And we want to make you a partner in this whole thing. We want to put it in contracts, paying you $8,000 a month in salary just to start with, plus percentage of the business, and everything was working out great. After that facility was open and running and filled, then we decided to open up another office up in LA, right on Wilshire Boulevard. I've never really been a big fan of that, but in LA. And I was commuting from San Diego up to the Anaheim facility for months. And when we opened up in LA, I knew I just couldn't do that anymore. And so my kids, which I'm divorced, so my kids were weekdays with their mom and weekends with me. So I knew if I moved, I was going to be coming back every weekend to pick up my kids, which that would be not bad driving. Anyway, it worked out great, opened up the LA facility, and that's when the investors decided they could see this was going places. And they didn't want me, since I had now second facility functioning, because they weren't involved in opening up the second facility at all. I did everything for that one. So they came in and decided they were going to treat me like a baby treats a diaper. And they escorted me out of the building and said, sue us. And they wanted to keep all the profits themselves. So we went after them. I had an attorney. We went after them for a long time. The attorney says I should not be in the computer industry, since that was part of the contract, that if I were ever to depart, I would like sell to them or whatever, that I would no longer be in the computer industry. So when they did that, I wasn't really hurting for money, but LA is an expensive place to live, far more expensive than San Diego, and so the neighborhoods are much better here anyway. Driving back and forth for 6 years, picking up the kids on weekends was a bit of a challenge. Well, actually I did it for 4 years while it was with Softech, which that's the company name. And anyway, we went after them with the attorney, and I decided, well, I was going to look at maybe getting into a new career. So one of my friends was in transportation. He said, I can teach you everything you want to know, and you can get into the trucking business. So I thought, that must be simple. Little did I know. But so 13 years ago, I started up American General Transport. Of course, I monitored the progress of how that all worked with the new concept for training people for the computer industry. And I'm glad that it brought good things of how people learned and focused on resolving the problem of high-paid technicians. So anyway, the transportation business is plagued with a lot of problems. There are two major ones. Nobody's ever been able to solve this problem. But they don't even understand that they're creating the problem. But anyway, they have, it's the high turnover. Drivers jump from trucking company to trucking company. The average turnover for the trucking industry is, I think it's 94% is the average. That's an average. That means you have almost your entire staff that turns over in 1 year. And I experienced that when I started up. It was terrible. Drivers, when they would leave, they usually did something to the truck. They would leave it somewhere. You had to go try to find it. The tracking back then was very expensive, and they didn't really have much of it back then. So it could be a very expensive proposition when they take trucks and you don't know where they are. Fortunately now I have tracking and everything, so I don't have that issue. But the other problem that the industry has faced and can't get away from is getting drivers to take care of the trucks that they have. They treat it like a rental car. It's like by the time you could buy a brand new truck that is 100,000, 150,000, and plus another 30 to 60 or 70,000 for a trailer. Drivers just don't treat it like it's their own thing, and it's not like a car, a small car. It's a big vehicle. So when they create damage, it's not an inexpensive proposition. So now what happens is the industry, because there's a shortage of drivers, who really wants to be on the road driving all the time? You probably would never do that or even consider doing it. It's a good thing to do on an occasional trip, but it's just not something that anybody really would enjoy doing on a normal basis. These are usually guys that probably were kids that you picked on in high school, which means that they were kind of outcasts. They felt like they never really had close friends anyway, distant from the family because of that, maybe not much of a family anyway to begin with. And so they feel, I'm out on the road, at least I can see the country, and they drive and drive and drive. You're talking 10,000 miles a month or more, and that's a lot of driving. So they get frustrated after a while. Other drivers especially don't understand. These big heavy trucks can't get out of their way fast enough. It's not like they can speed up or slow down like a car. So these guys are frustrated a lot, and so they create their own, they get tired of doing what they're doing. They think something different might be better. There's nothing to change their thought process, since that's the way the industry has always been. So I wanted to solve a problem. How do we keep people in the company that don't ever want to leave and take care of the trucks that they're driving? So here's what I found out. I designed a program called the 6-year retirement program, and how it works is like this. I will put out 10 grand for somebody to buy a truck. Now do that 10 grand, I'm going to get that 10 grand back, but not now. I'm going to put out the 10 grand for that person to get that truck, because he probably doesn't have good credit to be able to get that truck. I let him borrow my credit. I co-sign for him on a loan. I've been doing this a while, so I get approved already. So when I co-sign for this individual, he's going to be getting a truck. Now his truck payments on a $150,000 truck are going to be in the neighborhood about $2,600 a month. So and since everybody's paid weekly, you take the weekly amount, you divide that, you take the monthly amount times it by 12, divide it by 52, and that tells you what your truck payment's going to be on a weekly settlement. So they're going to be making that truck payment. But secondly is, and their insurance, and they're paying for their own fuel. When we get a load that say is $7,000 or $8,000, they're going to be receiving 68.4% of that amount that we get from the customer. And what that 68.4 pays for is their truck payment and all their fuel, insurance, any other costs that they may have had. If they borrowed any money, they can borrow money on their fuel card. And whatever's left is what their take-home pay is for that. And now, unlike other trucking companies, which this is part that they create their own problem, they give sign-on bonuses. Come to work for us to attract drivers, and we'll pay you a $1,500 sign-on bonus. But they don't just give it to you right when you come to the front door. That would be stupid. They would come, take it, and leave. And so what they do is after you've been there 30 days, then you'll get half of it. When you're there 90 days, you'll get the other half of it. So now you're here for 90 days. You got enough 90 days experience. Do you want to stay? You came there because of the sign-on bonus. And when you saw their sign-on bonus in the ad that's in those big thick books at the truck stops, everybody has one out there. They decide, oh my God, look at this one, because they got nothing to do when they're shut down for 10 hours a day. So they go through and they look at the magazines that are in there and they say, ooh, look how much they're paying to sign on with this company. Maybe I should take a look at that. I'll talk to them, at least call them and find out some information. How does that sign-on bonus pay? And that's where they create their own problem, just as repetitious. It's not gone away. So here's my solution. I wanted to give them the old 1-2 punch. So anyway, when they're making their truck payment, that amount that they make when they're with some other trucking company, other trucking companies, they really take advantage of the drivers overall. And the average driver out there, the statistics are showing, they make less than $40,000 per year. Doing all that driving, going out there doing this crazy stuff. And because the trucking company is actually taking bits and pieces here and there, even though, like for example, when they buy fuel, their fuel, they tell them it's whatever they're selling the fuel price out there. Or they'll say you'll get 8 cents off of whatever the pump price is. But every trucking company out there doesn't have a price off of that. They actually get whatever the cost is, and then they negotiate their cost plus. Because most of the truck stops are all interlinked together. They're owned by just 2 or 3 different companies that are out there. You negotiate it with those companies. So it's what's called cost plus. It's whatever their cost is to bring that fuel to that particular location, and 6 cents over that. So their profit margin is usually about maybe 30, 40, 50 cents more than that, sometimes more. But we get 6 cents over that. Now, so all these trucking companies are out there, they're saving 50, 60 cents per gallon on the fuel, but they're telling the drivers either it's pump price or you're going to get 8 cents off, or 10. I think the most I've heard is 10 cents off per gallon whenever you go to these particular truck stops. So they're making money off the drivers that way. And that's not the only way. That's just probably the most recent within the past 8 to 10 years. So anyway, I give my drivers all of the savings. Yes, it does cost me a little bit of time to negotiate that, set that up, and do some work on that. And that's probably why they take some of that. They think it's a profit stream, I guess. But I'd rather give it to my drivers. It just shows them that, oh my God, I've never seen this, because they get a fuel sheet, they can see it. So anyway, that was number one, is being able to allow drivers to make more money. My drivers here take home on average maybe between $1,200 to about maybe $2,500 per week. So they make a lot more here. And I make good money too. Believe me, I'm okay. But sorry, one of my drivers texting me. But anyway, I'm thinking about what he's probably asking. So anyway, by giving them this opportunity to stay with me, and they first of all, they're making good money, so they're making better money than they may have made before. But there's a better ending to this, and that is as long as they take care of that truck and they're making all their payments throughout the 6 years that it's been here in our fleet, then at the end of that 6 years, that $150,000 truck to begin with is now worth probably about 45 to 55 range, because it's got 800,000 miles on it by this time after 6 years, and it's probably not looking like it was brand new. So its value is down there, and that's about normal in that range there. So when that truck is sold, let's say it sells right in the middle at 50,000, then that's when I take back my 10, so I can replace it with another truck. And the rest of the money that's there, I co-sign with that driver so that he can take all the money that's left and buy him trucks. Now, he's going to be getting paid 76% on those trucks. What he's going to do, and I actually can do it for him through the accounting system. He doesn't have to actually do anything. I'll do it all, do the software. But what he's going to be doing is taking out of that 76%, so since I'm still making a very good profit on my 24%, he's going to pay his driver 90% of that, which comes out to 68.4. So that's where that driver makes that good income. He wants to stay here because he's getting good income, but but at the end of that payoff, they can stop working because if they're paying their drivers 90% and they're taking 10, the average trucker does about anywhere from 17,000 to 24,000 per month. Then let's say an average of 20 is what their average monthly is, which that's pretty normal. Our trucking company last year averaged per truck $180,000 per truck. So that's above the average out there in the much above the average. So they're all making good money, but there's a payoff at the end when they've got $20,000 revenue on 3 trucks. Because if they've got, let's say, $45,000 left over, and I'm going to co-sign with them on that finance, then they're going to have 3 to 4 trucks. So let's take 3. Let's say it didn't really sell for very much and you only got 3 trucks. You're going to be getting that $20,000 per month. You're paying your driver, which I'm doing, that 90%. And everybody's on 1099. Nobody's an employee since they're driving owned equipment. Then they're going to be making on 20,000, 10% of that 20,000, since they're paying their driver 90%. So if you got 20,000 a month on 3 trucks, that's 60,000. That's $6,000 a month coming in. And he doesn't have to do anything anymore. He can go home, watch Andy Griffith reruns. He can go fishing, do whatever he wants to do. And that's why the drivers want to come here. And that's why my turnover just stopped. I don't have drivers. Unless there are still some guys that are just, they don't get it. I guess they don't understand that they're making good money. I have a guy that I'm getting ready to let go. I better not say that. Let me stop that. Anyway, so that's my history. Now, when I came up with this concept, since my business has actually been growing about 30% per year, the concept on Our Destiny is totally different. You've already probably known it's sparked by my parents. I love my parents dearly. I miss them. Everybody needs to get out there and enjoy what this world has left. I'm 57 now, and I haven't even traveled overseas. And the studies I see from major institutions that are out there, we're talking, it's not just 1 or 2, it's like everybody has the same numbers. It's not, well, they know how many people have passports, so, and how many people never leave their hometown. So those studies are done every year. I think sometime around September, they do demographics, but anyway, it's not that these numbers are wrong. People are not traveling. And even just through initial things like on my Facebook and LinkedIn, everybody says, yes, when is it coming? I have friends that are in Mississippi, East Coast, people from my industry that are saying, we want to come to the opening. We want to come out there. This is amazing. They've never seen or heard anything like this. So I know it's going to be an industry changer. And of course, by going into not just the restaurant industry, but hotels, it's going to be huge. It's going to be, you talk about a major attraction, unless you're selling that presidential suite. I think I saw in the news the Century or something, whatever it's called, in New York City, I think. I'm not sure exactly where it was, but you can wake up, go to sleep, be anywhere you want in the world. Your room is going to be your major attraction. So, but even in master bedrooms, increasing home values just by building them in homes when we can get the price down to a moderate price where it's makes sense to invest in, or to be the home everybody wants to buy. So, but also the bar scene, like I was saying in the previous video, I don't know how to dance. I would love to be able to dance. You can't do it with those little laptops or tablets and stuff that we have. It's too hard to get the dance moves down, especially if your eyesight's not that great. So anyway, that's my history. I will not allow this to fail. I'm going to make this succeed. It's a done deal. There's not even anything to think about because we know it's coming. It's of course going to come. Why wouldn't anybody have even thought about doing this before? It makes sense because the cost-wise, yes, maybe the first one is going to cost a little bit more. But after that first one, the price is gonna drop because you believe me, the TV manufacturers, screen manufacturers already know this is gonna take off. I called them, and just by the initial responses I got from like AUO, I think that's the initial, I didn't mispronounce that, and I'm sorry if I did, but he responded back to me saying something to the effect that this is an interesting application. He'd never heard anything like this before. And if I recall correctly, they're like the biggest that's out there. Although I'm thinking we may want to go more in lines with the Aspen, which is the division NEC just bought. And the camera that you're watching right here is actually the camera that we're going to be using on the recording mechanism for the 360 and above recording. So hopefully you like this recording. It's one of the very few cameras, extremely compact, so great for travel. But secondly is it's got a complete motion sensor, which if we decide we're going to have any kind of movement like on a boat or something, it can stop the movement altogether, but without losing resolution. The pixel count, it doesn't utilize a digital reproduction of the image. It's an actual floating lens on a very compact body manufactured by Sony. We were going to use another, but this camera is amazing. I've been researching this camera and decided this is what I should film this on. Thank you for watching, and I really hope that we can get the proper investor for this because this is going to be an amazing task. And I don't really need a lot of your help with this unless you want to be involved in it, because I'd love to have a partner. I don't want you to feel like you have to. I'm ready to do this, and I'm going to sell my transportation business, and I'm focusing on this 100%. So I want you to know that that's my promise. 2 thumbs up.